Today I'm going to be talking about how meditation can help you overcome erectile dysfunction. This is a really important video that talks about some things that most guys that are struggling with ED are overlooking. So if you're really serious about overcoming your ED, please pay attention to this video. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with things that are happening and then get the new videos when they're coming out. All right, let's get started. So meditation is a word that's used pretty loosely now compared to how it used to be used. And, I see a lot of times now people are putting up like drunk meditation and all these different types of things where they use the word meditation to throw into something that has nothing to do with meditation. This is something I'm a bit of a snob about. I am very strict about what I use for the word meditation, and the reason for that is meditation, it's hard to talk about what it's actually designed for, but one way that I feel is as accurate as I can convey is that it's designed to alleviate the root of suffering. And suffering in general basically just means unnecessary discomfort and pain. There is no life that you're going to live that is without pain. Being good at meditation doesn't mean that you will have a perfect life and you'll never be upset, you'll never be sad, or you'll never be angry. But what meditation does is allows you to alleviate the unnecessary things that come with them. So oftentimes when a problem happens in our lives, the issue isn't the thing that happens. Let's say losing a relative. I personally lost my father at the age of 22. I was absolutely devastated by that. And the event of losing my father had an obvious emotional impact on me, even though I wasn't that aware of it. But what happens with suffering is that there's the initial pain that happens. The thing that causes a strong emotion in your body, like the loss of a father. And then what comes out of that is grief. So there's a whole pile of grief over here. And the grief is often so overwhelming that that you don't know what to do with it. And so you come up with strategies on how to avoid feeling the total impact of the grief. And what that causes in your life is avoidance of that experience. So you tend to, if you've ever noticed that your mind just constantly narrates everything that's happening in your life, that is basically one of your coping mechanisms for avoiding those uncomfortable feelings. So it doesn't have to be loss of a parent. It can be the emotion doesn't necessarily have to be caused by something. You can just know that there's an emotion happening. So the emotion itself isn't the suffering. The suffering is the avoidance of experiencing that allows this emotion to stay stuck. And so when you don't experience an emotion, it will continue to stay present in your experience, but since you're not paying attention to it, you end up with the suffering that happens here. And then you have the coping mechanism, which often seeps into your mind. So let me give you another experience. Let's say that you fall and you hurt your ankle. And you have the physical pain that's happening in your body because your ankle hurts. But then because you don't want to pay attention to the ankle hurting, there's another type of pain that you create, which is emotional pain. So you think things like, oh no, why did this happen to me? I'm so unlucky. And then you think about all the things that you're not going to be able to do because your ankle hurts. And you turn it into a story. And every time you have a thought like, oh, well, why me? Or, you think about how I'm so unlucky it doesn't matter what the thoughts are. You then create an amount of emotional pain that happens. So let's just say that let's just use a pain scale. Or a suffering scale. So the original breaking your ankle or hurting your ankle or whatever has an amount of pain that's a 10. But then you add on the I'm so unlucky, and you think about all the things that the original, or because of this ankle, you're not going to be able to do, and you create another 10 units of discomfort in your emotions. And then because your emotions are uncomfortable, they can refeed back into thoughts in your mind. And what tends to happen is that your mind will continuously recreate this cycle with your emotions that they feed each other. And what ends up happening is that the original thing hurt, like it had a level of discomfort of like 10 units, but then you could end up with 100 or 200 or 300 units of discomfort in your mind and in your emotions because of all the reasons that you think that this is bad. And so what meditation does is it allows you to experience the pain that you're dealing with from the ankle or from the loss of your father or whatever the thing is, and then stop creating all of that unnecessary suffering, because you're not going to meditate away the feeling of having of a leg being broken. I've never met anyone who's meditated. I've met some pretty advanced meditators. I've never met anyone who's meditated to the point where they broke their leg and they don't experience pain. That's a fantasy. I've never met someone who had a relative die and they don't experience loss. Maybe there are people that can do that. I don't know. But I've never read about anybody who can do that. I've never met anybody that can do that. But you can definitely hurt your ankle and then learn how to just experience the physical pain and not create the unnecessary suffering on top. And so when we're talking about erectile dysfunction, what most of you are dealing with when you're depressed and you're suicidal and you're frustrated and all the things that you're going through, it actually isn't the experience of the erectile dysfunction that's causing it. And it's weird to think about that, because I get so many messages and so many posts I see about guys talking about, I'm so depressed because of my erectile dysfunction. You're not depressed because of your erectile dysfunction. You're depressed because your mind and your emotions are going crazy and you don't know how to deal with them. So the way that meditation works is, first of all, it allows your mind to relax. When your mind is stuck in the loop between the emotion, a very strong emotion, and the thoughts that are creating, that emotion, your mind gets stressed out. It's just like, if you've ever worked for a really long period of time and then felt in your neck you have like stress, like you just feel that your body is stressed. Well, your mind does the same thing. Your mind can be stressed as well. And so meditation does a lot of different things. One of them is it starts to settle your mind down. And the relationship between your mind and your body also starts to relax your body. And so this has a direct impact on the nervous system. I talked about the nervous system some in my Qigong video, which I'll link right here. But the process of meditating will allow your nervous system and your mind to relax. But more importantly, it'll help you start to become aware of the loop between your mind and your emotions and how that loop is creating itself. And if you'll start to just notice that, okay, I have the same 5 things that I think about all the time, and they're just loops that run over and over again. For me, I had this pattern where I had a particular friend of mine named Jenny, and she was somebody that had a lot of we'll just say disagreements with how I lived my life. And so in my mind, when I was doing something, I would have a mental argument with Jenny, explaining to her why I was doing something. It sounds silly, but that's something that happened in my mind all the time. Until I started meditating, I didn't know it was happening. And when it comes to erectile dysfunction, you already know when you're having sex that there's this whole thing happening where your mind is just obsessing over, am I going to lose my erection? And then that makes you scared. And then so the fear then creates more of the thoughts, and the thoughts and it just creates that cycle of suffering for you. And what it does is it takes all of your attention away from the actual pleasurable thing that's happening. And so when you deal with this, it affects the body in a bunch of different ways. But first of all, just if you can remove the whole, am I going to lose my boner, and all the fear that you're creating in your mind through that, the experience of sex will increase in pleasure dramatically, just removing that. But the other thing is that fear that you're creating with those thoughts and that loop between fear and your mind, it has a physical effect on your body. And that is the tension that you feel in your body, your hips and your lower back. Those things are actually tight. And you'll notice that they are tighter during sex, although they're probably always tight. And when you're able to stop creating that loop where you're concerned about, am I going to lose my boner? What happens is that the physical muscles in your body will also relax. And your erection it requires it requires relaxation. The muscles that are in your penis have to relax in order to engorge with blood. The more they relax, the more open space ends up in your penis, which allows blood flow into it, and then blood sits inside those caverns. And those caverns, as they engorge, they fill up like balloons, and they restrict the veins which blood typically leaves your penis through. So if you're getting like 60 or 70% erections, the issue is that your penis is not getting fully relaxed during sex. And it can't relax because you're freaking yourself out because your mind is going nuts with your emotions. So meditation is about training your mind on how to take control of it. Right now, your mind is controlling you. And if your mind is controlling you, what happens is that you believe everything that it says. If your mind says, oh no, I'm worried about losing my erection, you have a physical experience in your body that creates the thing that your mind's worried about. If you start to notice that those things are happening and you can control your mind, you can redirect your attention away from thinking about, oh no, I'm going to lose my boner. In the very least, you can start thinking about like, oh, hey, her ass looks really cute. But in a better case, you can actually bring your attention from your thoughts and actually focus it on how pleasurable your body feels. And so meditation is a way to train your mind. And as you train your mind and you get more control over it, and it loses its control over you, you naturally start to relax. And the types of suffering that you're dealing with will naturally relieve. And so this is true for other types of suffering. This is just one dimension of what meditation does. It's an incredibly, incredibly rich thing. And I'm still at the beginning stages of it. I have been practicing meditation pretty seriously for 5 years. I lived in a monastery for 2.5 years and did very, very serious training. But compared to what meditation is capable of doing, I'm nowhere near the depths of what it's capable of. So it's a really fascinating topic. I love talking about it. If you got something out of this, let me know. Please leave me comments and let me know if this was helpful or what is interesting to you about this. And so I can help you move forward. And I do work with men one-on-one if that's interesting to you. If you're tired of your ED and you're really looking for a way to move forward, it is a process of training men. I teach you how to take control of your mind. I teach meditation. I teach Qigong. I use other methods to help deal with the suffering that the mind is creating and the ways that it does it. So if that's interesting to you, there's a link down below on how to get a hold of me, and I look forward to hearing from you. All right, I'll see you next week.